One, two, 1, 2. Oh, hi. We may continue.
We may continue. Honorable Speaker that was speaking while we were disrupted, are you done? Yes?
No, Honorable Speaker. No, I wasn't done. Thank you for recognizing me, Honorable Speaker. As I was still saying, as I've heard other honorable members saying, things like flooding, tornadoes, natural disasters, these things are covered in subjects like geography and, as honorable member said, geography and LO. LO has been made compulsory, but there are some subjects or some when children are choosing subjects, they're not allowed to take geography, not allowed, but they can't in terms of subject choosing. So I think the government should make geography like compulsory for each and everyone, because geography touches a lot when it comes to climate change, because it tells you what to do, as they asked, what to do when there is a flooding. It gives you instructions. It educates you a lot when it comes to natural disasters and stuff like that. So subjects like geography are really needed into these. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. That will conclude all of the commissions at hand. Now, without opening a debate, I would like to call upon the, yes, this side, sorry. Excuse me, I would like to call upon one speaker from Comprehensive Sexuality Committee to respond to the interactions that were made. They will have 2 minutes to conclude and respond to everybody. So one person from the Comprehensive Sexuality Commission. Honorable member.
Thank you, Madam, for giving me the opportunity. I would like to find out, I looked at the schedule. Are you still going to cover the child safety and protection and the child participation? Thank you.
Yes, we will be after the commissions have responded to the interactions. One speaker from Comprehensive Sexuality.
Thank you. Do I have to go there or can I just say it here?
Yes, you can come to the front.
Thank you, Speaker. On behalf of the people who were involved in the comprehensive sexuality education, that topic, we would like to thank everyone for the comments they've made. We have taken note of it. We do agree with a lot that was said. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Now I'll be taking one person from the Sexual Abuse Committee. Commission. Substance abuse. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I did not hear much of a question, to be honest, but then I believe that the Commission of Substance Abuse might have noted down a few of those who had questions. And then I believe indeed that we're going to sit down and talk about the solutions that we will have to implement and reschedule. So thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
I would like now to call upon the Climate Change Climate Change Committee. One person from the Climate Change Committee, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving us this opportunity. We would like to say thank you to everybody for giving us an ear as the Commission for Climate Change. And then again, I wanted to talk about the unexpected floodings and everything. I want us to remember that the effects of climate change are not only floodings, even though we only mentioned floodings only. And then we are saying the thing that we're actually advocating for is that we do not want the statements from the government saying that the situation was unexpected, whereby lives of children are being lost. We want that certain committees or certain programs should be held beforehand so that when these situations of climate change come, we are already prepared as a country. We know that as a country, we're not that rich, but we can prepare certain organizations or certain groups to actually prepare for climate change, because nobody knew in South Africa we could have tornadoes or floodings, especially or earthquakes for that matter in Johannesburg. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I would like to go back to the debate at hand, and I would like to call upon Honorable Mashai from Mpumalanga to introduce the debate on child safety and protection, online safety, and violence against children.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I greet you all. I go by the name of Mashai Mora. I am from Limpopo Province. So I'm going with the topic of child safety and protection. I'm going for the online report. Nowadays, we, the new generation, we live in the 21st century where everything is all about technology. With that very same technology, we are at a great risk of cyberbullying and violation. We, as the children, are more likely to be exposed to explicit content such as pornography and cyber violation, where young children are sexually exploited and catfished, causing some of the children to commit suicide. And some may even be depressed for that matter. And by that, I suggest that the government and the website committee come to a resolution to install a device that forbids explicit content for young children to see. And also, I suggest that the government should start or implement facilities almost all over the world, South Africa, for young people to go and learn about online safety. Those who won't go personally could just browse or go to a website called staysafeonline.org. It is a website that teaches children about online safety. And as we know that responsibility does not mean accessibility. Some resources may be available, but not all of us have access to them. And by that, I say, maybe the government should purchase enough electronics so that all of us can have access to the internet and browse and learn about online safety. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mashai. And now I call upon Honorable Kente from Western Cape.
Good day, everyone. I am Inati Kente, a representative of the Western Cape. I stand here before you today to talk about child safety and protection. Protection of children is a constitutional right which is furthermore supported by the Children's Act. Abuse goes beyond injuries and visible scars and impact on the child's cognitive, social, psychological, and emotional development. It reduces the academic development. It leads to aggressive behavior later on in life. Lack of belief in children and poor response can lead to secondary trauma. It increases the risk of re-victimization and perpetration. I would also like to touch on load shedding. Crime has gone up because of load shedding. Children are even scared, terrified to go to school. They now join they're now doing gangs because of hunger and poverty, as their parents are losing jobs because of load shedding. The children of South Africa need protective measurements that will build their resilience and promote child well-being. With that being said, it means safe environments such as homes, communities, and schools. Early detection and therapeutic interventions to minimize long-term risks. The government needs to implement surveillance systems. The National Instruction on Sexual Offences fails to mention many of the obligations under the Children's Act, including the legal obligation to work with stakeholders such as the DSD or the DCPO. By the way, SAPS has more cases than the DSD/DCPO. SAPS has so many unresolved cases. Why aren't they asking for assistance with child abuse cases from stakeholders such as the DSD, DCPO? We need more police stations in the rural areas, and we need child-sensitive police stations. We need social workers, counselors at school. Government should implement scholar transport for children who travel long distances to school. The child protection system is failing us as children. Child protection requires the multi-agency response that enables government and civil society organizations to work collaboratively to respond to abuse. Corporal punishment is prohibited, but why is it continuing? We need programs that are going to mentor and prepare parents for parenthood, birth. Our parents need assistance. We must also not forget the children who are working and living in the streets. We need government to take them to rehabs and make sure they have shelters. You know, there's a child in Mitchell's Plain, Kwamashu, Alex, seeking for help right now, but they can't receive the help they need because government is failing to implement its policies. With that being said, please help us. South African government is the children are in need of help. Dabulel.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Next up is Honorable Ratao from Mpumalanga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are advocating for child protection for 365 days. The reality of being a South African citizen is sad because as South Africans, we have lost our pride, we have lost our dignity of being South Africans. Honorable members, allow me to observe all protocol. I am Honorable Loyal Sarutege Ratau, Ambassador of Mpumalanga, and I'm here to speak on violence against children. And I must highlight that we have lost Ubuntu, have lost consciousness as children of South Africa die in the hands of the people who are supposed to protect them. Honorable members, allow me to share these disturbing statistics. 9,095 cases of sexual abuse have been reported, 6,972 of the cases are of deliberate neglect. 460 of those cases are of emotional abuse. 59 of those cases are of abandonment. More than 3 children are killed on a daily basis. 21,434 children suffered attempted murder. And please, honorable member, keep in mind the cases that have not been reported and the cases that have been withdrawn. This means that as we are comfortable in this sitting today, a child is being abused as we speak, one is dead as we speak, and another one needs urgent medical attention because they have survived attempted murder. It is sad to know that our own parents cannot raise us because they themselves are going through something. It is sad that we cannot even run to our schools because the schools themselves have turned into a war zone. And it is sad that even our own police cannot help us because they themselves are not equipped on how to deal with this violence and are not taught on how to handle issues of violence. And thus we said they need emotional and psychological teaching and training on how to deal with these things. Kids report cases and furthermore withdraw the very same cases because they are depending on the very same perpetrators. We keep on having the number of cases increase because the very same statistics that we are presented are not representing what is happening in the actual ground. Think of the 6-year-old Butla Mashian who was murdered and brutally robbed of her body parts in game in Mpumalanga. Think of the 8-year boy in Park North in Cape Town who was murdered on the 22nd of June 2023. Think of the 2-year-old boy who was brutally killed in Limpopo by his drunk uncle who was supposed to be the one who is protecting him. Time and again, we are being told that we are the future of the country. The very same future that is abused, the very same future that is killed, the very same future that is being neglected. Now, honorable members, I want to pose a question to the floor. How do you lead a nation when we have a broken spirit? How do you lead a nation when we are demoralized? How do you lead a nation when we are demotivated? As the children of South Africa today, we are saying in the National Strategic Plan of Gender-Based Violence, we are advocating for a 7th pillar that will deal directly with issues that affect children and find possible solutions that will help curb the spread of violence against children. We are saying that there's a raging war between the parent and the child, and that is why we need active programs that will attend to both the child and parents so that they reach a common understanding. We also need a parental skills program as our parents did not have a proper upbringing and thus they failed to raise us as their children. We need programs that will equip them and train them psychologically and emotionally even during pregnancy. Our police must be trained on how to handle and assist children experiencing violence because they themselves are appointed based on skills and qualification. And we are forgetting that behind the skills and qualification, there are ethics and character. Some kids experience violence because their parents are depending on the perpetrators. That is why we are saying we need active victim economic empowerment so that these victims are dependent free of the very same perpetrators. We are saying there should be a clear role and responsibility between SAPS and the justice system because cases are reported, SAPS do arrest the perpetrators, but a week later the justice system releases them on bail. Lastly, we need to rebuild the society and educate them about violence against children and how
honorable member.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, your time is up. Thank you. Now, I would like to call upon Honorable Dihang to introduce the debate on child participation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. It will be a mistake if I don't greet the officials and pass my humble greetings to the Minister of DSD and all other executive present. Well, I would also like to pass my humble greetings to all the honorable members who are here. Standing before you is Dihang Murudu, and the same Dihang Murudu is no longer a representative of Limpopo. Dihang Murudu is a representative of South African children. The oath that I took is to stand for the children of South Africa. I'm no longer going to depend on Limpopo. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most critical topics that I've always wanted to speak about each and every single time. Ladies and gentlemen, child participation. Well, I would like to firstly acknowledge that child participation, it is one of the thematical areas that are also being recognized by these treaty bodies. The UNCRC, which is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Children, African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of a Child, and also in our Constitution, mainly found on Chapter 2, Section 28, Articles 12. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is child participation? Child participation is when children are involved in decision making on matters that they face, and they should be the ones bringing some of the recommendations to the government. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as a team, we have decided to come up with some certain challenges that we found in this kind of a thematical area. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by challenges that we found at school. It is so painful to find out that at this time we are in the fourth industrial revolution, we still have schools that do not allow RCL to be taking place. How can it be that way? There's something that is going wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Yet still some schools might have the RCL representative. But the question is, are they involved in the decision making? I'm speaking from experience. We still have RCL, we still have the president who's from the school, but he or she is not even being recognized in the decision making. But where are we going as a country? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the another issue is that we had a SAS Act, which is a South African School Act that was established. But the question is, who were children involved in the establishment of that kind of a document? We have to ask ourselves that question. There is a still big gap that needs to be closed by now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at school, we're having a lack of people who are supposed to make sure that they consult with children. People that we go to are not child friendly. Yes, we might have a school counselor, but in most cases, like one of the honorable members stated lately, they said that we still have those social workers, but there's still a high rate of things that they indicated about mental illnesses, and we still have an issue whereby children are going through depression. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most important one I'm going through, which is child participation, looking at all spheres of government. This one I would like to touch on it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we as child ambassadors, and I can see that all of you can justify what I'm saying, we are finding a difficulties to ensure that we approach all districts to hear what are they going through. The government, there have been a thematical area which is not present today, which is child-friendly communities, where we elect junior councillors in every district. But ladies and gentlemen, if we do not have junior councillors in every district, where are we going as a country? We need them to be part of the decision-making so that the work that we do as a child ambassadors can be taken into consideration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, another issue is about...
Thank you, Honorable Member. Unfortunately, your time is up.
Thank you.
Next up is Honorable Meje from Gauteng.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that opportunity. Now, I'd like to start with an opening quote that's from Tata Madiba in commemoration of his birthday, right? Education is the key to success, right? But today we sit understanding that there are some children that cannot access that success because they don't have this key. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, consider yourselves greeted and all protocols observed. Now, I'll be giving the resolutions to the problems and the challenges that my first speaker has mentioned. Number one, we would like to encourage parents and guardians at home to actually promote child participation within the community, in terms that whenever the family has to make a decision, let the child also be involved. Not only that, we would also like to encourage governance to consult with children before making any decisions. Practically, let them involve children in their decision making, starting from schooling level through the RCL, ward level through the junior councils, district, metropolitan councils, provincial, up to nationals, right? Where up to national level, where children can actually influence legislature, such as the SASA Act that my fellow parliamentarian has actually mentioned, right? Secondly, South Africa panel has beautiful laws, but the implementation is still to be questioned, right? Where we actually have policies that actually that actually state that it is meant the teachers that violate and infringe on the children, on the rights of the children, should be dealt with harshly. But funny how we see it in society that these people continue with their lives normally, while I, as the child who has been victimized by a certain teacher, continues to suffer. To show and expose that the policies are not really being implemented, panel. Secondly, we then like and request that the state gives us places of reporting. For example, panel, how do I report emotional abuse to the police? So you understanding, or rather taking that into consideration, we would like for the state to actually consider our needs in such cases. Thirdly, accountability, right? Where in the 10th annual parliament sitting, a female black child actually stated that we would request, as the children, request that every minister would be present, since we are touching on topics that not only the Department of Social the Department of Social Development are responsible for. That black child actually requested to have Umam Angie present today, but we don't see her, right? We see people who are actually sent by her. Now, panel, that comes to question of like, how do we actually hold people, or rather the ministers, or rather leaders, accountable for whatever that we will be discussing today, seeing as they do not prioritize our needs. We are having a parliament sitting where we actually requested, but they're not here, questioning child participation. The last part where it actually mentions that we need implementations, right? Okay, and then fourthly, capacity building, right? Where we want the states to actually offer programs like a fellow honorable members have mentioned, that capacity building for parents where they are psychologically and emotionally built, or rather empowered, to actually deal whenever, like, to actually understand whenever they're dealing with children. Capacity building for people who are actually dealing directly with children, where we actually find cases of teachers who are having psychological issues but taking them out on us. Therefore, we say we want capacity building for them through counseling, therapy, empowerment programs, and also for us, since we are not only the children that need to be dealt with, but as the children that will also be dealing with other children. We need that capacity building for psychologically to actually
Honorable member, unfortunately, your time is over.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. I would now like to open the interaction with the last two commissions. Please remember, anyone can speak, and the time limit for each commission is 6 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. I don't know if anyone can hear me. So the question I was going to raise was, going back to what Speaker, what's her name, Ratau said from Mpumalanga, are the police trained to deal with the problems, which is not sexual abuse and domestic violence? It's like I did raise it this morning, where it was if the child calls childline doesn't answer the phone, and if the child is in danger, and we go to the police station, and the police station says, the police commanders say, no, you have to bring your ID, or you have to come with an adult, and you've got no adult with you, you came alone. And what measures can be taken? Thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Our generation believes that doing what our peers does makes you fit in. And from what I've seen, we post anything that we think can bring attention. Parents should take responsibility to see what their children post on social media. On social media, our elders also post inappropriate pictures. And as children, what we see our elders does, we think it's right. And I feel like our elders should take action and responsibility. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Greetings to the House at large. I would like to go back to what Honorable Inani Kenta said from the Western Cape about the children who are living and working in the streets. In South Africa, we have about 22 million children. And then in that 22 million children, we have about 250,000 children who are living and working in the streets. I think it's about time that the government includes and caters for the children who are living and working in the streets. I would like us to go back on the time during COVID-19, whereby the government decided to take everyone who's living and working in the street to an accommodation or a place of safety. So I think they should do that also to help the children who ran away from home because of abuse and other sorts of violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Solution must be to the people who are disabled, are being locked inside the houses. What the solution must be to the people who are disabled.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The South African government has the power to block and ban apps and websites, sorry, in the country that pose as a threat to its citizens. And maybe it is time that South Africa practices the power to protect its citizens, even if citizens may disagree. And we should also understand that social media websites are crucial and it is at most important to rectify them. Though in reminder, we mostly forget that these websites are mostly downloaded by us as children, and we are the ones who decide on how to use them, and that we are responsible on how we use those websites. Because firstly, these websites were made for communication for starters, for long distance relative communication, business discussion. So the bigger question is that why are we using these websites to destroy one another instead of using them to help others do work that is needed for those websites? And also, why are African children destroying themselves rather than blaming the government? Thank you.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, in regards to online safety, where they mention catfish, cyberbullying, sexual exploitation, I like to highlight to the House that at some cases, majority of the cases, we are our own perpetrators. Where you find that majority of these cases, it is the children acting like this towards themselves. It's children cyberbullying other children, right? Not only that, panel, I'd like to highlight that the government isn't really doing enough in such a case. Why? Because the Film and Publication Board, the people who are actually responsible, the online police for this, are actually a government entity. But we note that some of the majority of the children in South Africa do not know about this. They do not know that being found in the distribution or possession of nude pictures is actually illegal and you can get arrested for that. Now, I believe that the government also should also do some justice in such a case. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's actually saddening when I say it. Well, touching to what Royal said about safety and protection, um, with the government, we're actually going back and forth because we're actually talking about the same issues. I think those issues were actually raised last year, the year past that one, but then we're still, it's like a cycle. We're going in circles because we're like, no, this is the root cause. We come up with solutions. Are those solutions implemented? No. We have to come another year, find new, the same problem, find some other solutions actually, but then nothing happens. You know what I like about the government is that the government actually listens, but then it doesn't act. That's the main fact. It doesn't act. It listens. Oh, the voices of children, they listen. So, um, it touches me because we lose mothers and sisters. We lose children more like every day. And I know that actually Rome wasn't built in a day, so it should take processing to end sexual harassment and all that, the violation in women. But then we are losing our mothers and sisters every single day. We can't wait for another year. No, we'll implement this. So we'll add here and here. No, we want this to actually be eradicated. We are tired of talking the same thing now and again. So we actually want change. We don't want to be head. We actually want to be there actually. Because when we are head and all that, it's like they hear us and just shuffle us away. I Sweden and all that. No, we want to be head and actually acted upon. We want to see change. What's the point of us coming in those fancy hotels and then going back to those dusty backgrounds and see the struggle that we are facing every day? We are representing 20 million children in South Africa. But then, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to move on to child participation.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the chance to speak. I think child participation is very crucial because us as children need our voices to be heard because in the past, adults made decisions for children. Children were or are not taken seriously by our parents, community, and the government when our rights are violated. We can voice out our opinions addressing social ills affecting us. My honorable member once stated that there are schools that are not child friendly, schools that can collapse at any moment. We also have corporal punishment and bullying. I mean, no one will be willing to open up to someone who doesn't relate to them. So why shouldn't we participate in addressing the issues that affect us children? I would like to recommend a recommendation that charity begins at home. So parents and communities should support child participation, not only for us to be heard, but for us to ensure that our future is splendid. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Member.
Greetings again. I want to touch on the point of junior city councillors. Our honorable president mentioned the fact of junior city councillors that we need more of them in our various municipalities. But I want the municipalities to make sure that there's follow-ups with every single debate that the junior city councillors have, because junior city councillors have debates twice a month. But then we want to make sure that those debates are made sure that there's follow-ups with them, there's implementation, not just talks. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. In terms of child participation, as an alumni of the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, I think firstly I'd like to applaud the National Department of Social Development for actually physically being the one of very few people who are actually passionate about child participation. So a round of applause to them. And I say this, honorable members, because the issues that we are raising, they highlight one issue, that there is no implementation on the ground. And it may be all good and fair that we are here at Parliament actually advocating for these things. But as long as our provinces and our local governments are not on the same page and are not actually smelling the morning coffee, nothing will happen. These things will never be implemented. So, as a beginning, I would like to propose that this year's ambassadors and parliamentarians take on the mandate to assist national government, to actually assist provincial and local governments, or rather provincials, to actually help them as to give them an understanding of what exactly is child participation and what is expected from them. Because we all know the different provinces that we come from, and we all know the different circumstances that have led us to be in this room. And we all know, many of us have raised the point that the representation is not as accurate as it should be. That means there's something wrong on the ground. National is doing their job. We're right here, we're live, we're right in front of the minister. But the minister doesn't live in Enyobeni Tavern. The minister doesn't live in Mtata. The minister doesn't live in Zululand. It is the government on the ground that needs to actually come to the party and join us. Therefore, we must take this as our mandate as the new parliamentarians coming in to say that we are going to actually advocate provincially and locally. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think legal framework should be implemented. Strengthening the legal framework to protect child participation is essential. South Africa already has various laws and policies in place, such as the Children's Act and the National Development Plan, which support child participation. However, I think continual review and improvement of these laws can ensure that children's voices are heard and taken into account. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We believe that children and young people can make a big difference. They can take part in decision-making process as their abilities improve and they become more independent. Children and young people learn to communicate opportunities, take responsibilities, and make decisions. It helps them to develop a sense of belonging, justice, responsibility, and solidarity. Furthermore, I believe that it's a recommendation. I believe that children must be given an opportunity to participate in community life, school, church, etc., by setting children's clubs or councils. Children are involved as stakeholders in children must be involved as stakeholders in various projects related to public education campaigns, child development, social development, environmental conservation, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Unfortunately, the time is out for discussions. I would like the two commissioners, one person from each commission that we just spoke about, to come to the front and respond to the interactions. So that is from child safety and protection, and child participation, one person from each of those commissions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, honorable members, for the input. So to the few questions that I've noted down and that have been done on the floor, are police trained for attending sexual abuse cases? I had highlighted during my presentation that the problem we have is that our police are appointed based on skills and qualification, and then they fail to recognize that behind the skills and qualifications there are ethics and a personality that needs to be equipped on how to deal with crucial issues such as sexual abuse. And again, a member of the parliament had outlined that sometimes when they call the child line 116, they are unable to get a hold of the responsible people. I would like to share a number of the Gender-Based Violence Command Center, 0800 428 428. They are available 24 hours a day. And also, one of our parliamentarians said that, what are we saying about children living with disabilities? We are saying that we no longer want to exclude them from the rest of the other kids, because at the end of the day, we are all South African kids. So we are advocating for inclusive, active participation and flexible schooling system that is inclusive. We are saying that we do not need to separate them from the rest of us, because it's not that they are not able, but they are definitely, differently abled. And also, again, lastly, what we recommend is that, can our government please work on a time frame? When they come to listen to us, we want to know when, who, and how, what is going to be implemented. Thank you.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, the questions, and like they were not really questions, but rather feedbacks, and yeah, they were very beneficial. We appreciate it. But in summary, or rather just to like really end all our problems, we as the Commission of Child Participation believe that the best way we could eliminate the problems that we have currently is by actually have a children's ministry that runs into presidency, right? Where we can actually have a child minister aside from the DSD, where we can actually say we have a stand in parliament whenever they are having engagements, whenever they are speaking, we are also there, represented by our own representative that we would have elected, right? Not only that, we request that the sign language to actually be a part of the South African syllabus, to actually break and eradicate this language barrier, to actually commemorate or rather accommodate everyone. Panel, I'd like you to understand or rather keep in mind that while we are here doing whatever, there are some children that the government still cannot access. Children that are actually overdosing, children that are actually abusing substances, but they are not here, right? So therefore, whenever we make decisions and actually get to be part of such initiatives, we should consider such children and how we actually reach to them. Thus forth, to actually attain complete child participation, we then decide to actually take it upon ourselves. Like the youth of 1976, we won't actually be violent, but rather we are taking it as our own responsibility, burdening ourselves to reach to those dark corners that nobody actually reaches to reach to those children that are actually sleeping under bridges, to reach to those children that the government disregards and hardly recognized. With that being said, I'd like to step down.
Thank you, honorable members. I think that was a very productive debate. I will now call upon the honorable minister to respond to the debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I wasn't sure whether I should come to the podium or remain where I was, so I took the decision to come to the podium. Thank you. All salutations, I think, are observed, but I'd like specifically to thank the Deputy Speaker of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, who was here with us, Honorable Mlibo Koboshiane. I'd like to thank the MEC of Social Development in the Eastern Cape, Mambukiwe Fanta. If you don't know her, she's sitting right there next to me. I'd like to thank members of the legislature who are here today, Eastern Cape. I'd like to thank the Secretary of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, because without the Secretary of Parliament or Legislature functioning and operating doesn't really happen, so we always rely on them. But most importantly, I'd also like to recognize partners to this event that we are having here. We have our UNICEF country representative, Miss Christine Muhigana, and I'd like her to really stand so that we can give through you, Speaker. And I say so because without partnering with the United Nations and in particular the UNICEF, some of the things that we would like to see happening would not happen. And also representative of the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund, Miss Carmen Galliard. Is she here? I didn't see her actually. Oh, there she's right at the back there. It's very important for us to have her too, as this is understood to be the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, and so that legacy will continue to be there as long as they are supporting us. The representative of the Save the Children of South Africa, Mr. Marumo Sikhobela, and representative of One to One Africa Children's Fund, Ms. Tabisa Bobo, all provincial ambassadors who are present here, members of the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, and of course the newly elected leadership. I'm hoping that the new elected leadership will be able to take all the issues that have been raised here and in particular ensure that government at all levels is held accountable to all the issues that have been raised by yourselves. So I'd like, with all those salutations, to say Dumelang, Dimasiari, Lochani, Afcheni, good afternoon, Goeiedag, Sanbonani, Molweni. I think where I want to start is to congratulate the newly elected speaker, and one of the honorable members there stood up to say, please protect the speaker because you are all in a learning curve, and as you continue you will also begin to appreciate and understand what it is to be a speaker, and members of parliament being very vibrant and really wanting to speak. So I hope in the year the speaker will be able to learn together with the team. But also thank you for entrusting upon them, because I saw there was a process here of voting. So there was nothing like people sitting in some corner and saying we want this one or that one. There was a due democratic process. Having said that though, Speaker, I would, particularly being a woman, request that whenever honorable members are thinking of the positions, you must think about ensuring that there's women being elected, more women being elected, but also there is persons or people with disability being elected, because this is an opportunity, this is a platform that has to be understood from that point that we need to be giving each other that opportunity. I raise this issue, honorable members, understanding that you all are coming from a background of patriarchy, you are coming from a background of women sometimes not being heard. Maybe they might be seen, but they are not heard. You're coming from backgrounds of thinking that women are only just people that are supposed to be in the kitchen and nowhere else, but in the kitchen cooking and bearing children. But your representation here and the number of women that I see here, young women that I see here, says to me there is a future and there is hope. And I'm happy that the provinces, the way that you are selected to come here, is taking that into consideration. I also, in response to some of the issues that are raised here, say, first and foremost, I believe the importance of us being here is the fact that the topics that are being discussed here are not topics that were imposed on anybody. These are topics, in my understanding, topics that were selected by yourselves, and these are topics that truly reflect your living conditions and the challenges that you face in the areas where you live, everywhere you live. I want to also pick up on one of the important issues which I identified myself even coming here to this meeting and talking to the Department of Social Development and being concerned about some of the issues that were raised previously by some of yourselves who were saying, we come here, we see you, Minister of Social Development, we see your department being in the forefront, but we're not seeing the other departments being in the forefront. I do want to say I raised that issue myself and said to the department something that was raised by one of the honorable members right at the back there, where he spoke about you yourselves taking this back to where you come from, because I keep on saying, even to the officials, I'm a minister of social development, I have to cover all the 9 provinces, but I don't live on the local level except for where I live myself. And therefore, I fully agree with the honorable member that take this as your mandate to go back to your provinces and begin to ask why you are not able to have these parliamentary discussions building up from local to province, and this be the culmination of those discussions. Because from a national parliament point of view, we have the National Council of Provinces, where provinces are being represented, and the entire process of legislation debate would go there and then end up in national parliament. So I'm happy that it is yourselves who are saying, can we institutionalize what we are having here, so that the issues that we are raising here are issues also that are dealt with at a local and provincial level. And the good thing about government is that we have the district development model, which is supposed to be assisting you. And actually, we should be asking how many of you are coming from how many districts, because I think we've got 54, if I'm not mistaken, 54 or 56 districts, somewhere there. And if that is the case, how do we then institutionalize what is happening here to make sure that when the Department of Social Development brings you to this platform where you are expected to have debated in the past days, are you evaluating, for instance, the performance thereof, both of government, both of the 3 spheres of government, but also are you evaluating your own participation? Because the Department of Social Development bringing you here does not mean it must bring you here and then wait for the next sitting again, where you are going to keep on repeating one and the same things. It should be yourselves, honorable members, who come back here and say, yes, we have come here to raise our issues, but yes, can we tell what we have been doing the entire year, particularly the ambassadors? Because in my view, ambassadors must be visible. The legislatures of the 9 provinces must be able to invite the ambassadors and say, today we are bringing an ambassador who's going to speak about the issues of children, but also we are bringing the ambassadors to hear from government. What is it that government has committed itself? How is it doing in its commitment? And is it actually ensuring that the rights and responsibilities, because again, guys, honorable members, sorry, we are not guys, we are honorable members here. Honorable members, the rights and responsibilities are very important. And I was happy to hear yourselves, honorable members, speaking about the Constitution of South Africa, speaking specifically about the sections that covers the rights of the children and all. I'm hoping that we can turn that into 365 days of discussion, 365 days of protection, 365 days of knowing exactly what are the things that we as government are doing. And again, I go back to the fact that you are bemoaning what you asked for the last time, that you'd like to see some of the ministers who are very directly involved in issues that are related to your concerns, honorable members. We will get there. We'll keep trying, we'll keep pushing, we'll keep on trying and making sure that next time when this parliament sits It's got more of the ministers, Minister of Education, Minister of Health, Minister of, even the Minister of Electricity, why not? Because sibonile load shedding isithi va kancane, but and then we got electricity back. I hear you also. Well, maybe let me just quickly say the topics that you picked on up here on are the topics that we as the Department of Social Development need to write a report that goes to all the different departments to indicate the issues that we have raised here, because the issues that we have raised are quite important. I also think that institutionalizing this is what is going to help us and reduce the back and forth that you, Department of Social Development, you are here alone. What about the others? If we institutionalize it and we popularize it, because here's my other problem. You cannot be having this Mandela Children's Parliament only on those few days when the Department of Social Development is able to bring here. I would like to see at a provincial level, and the MEC is here. I'd like to, and MEC, let me promise that we will take the report to our MINMAC, which is a platform where we have all the MECs. Now, if we call upon all the MECs and we say to the MECs, we had this children's parliament, each MEC for every province must then take responsibility of ensuring that this happens at provincial level. And then the MEC takes responsibility of also taking it down to the district level. I think it can help us along. Someone also, one of the honorable members here, spoke about the child ambassadors being part of the district development model. You see, you came here not only with raising issues, you also came here with solutions. You spoke about the junior councillors in each and every district. Again, this is about institutionalizing what you have here. And unless we do the institutionalization, we will come back here next year and talk about the same thing. Of course, we are in the year 2023-2024 financial year. And as we are all aware, we are going to be, which means the next parliament will probably happen with a new administration, which should be the seventh administration. This sixth administration and this department in particular under my leadership has to make sure that we write an exit report that can be handed over to whichever minister comes after the next elections, but we'll write it in such a way that anybody who comes in, whether which president, deputy president, ministers, they should see the value of the reports that we are presenting so that they can continue with what we are doing here. I'm also hoping that, honorable members, you don't forget that there is elections next year, and therefore part of your responsibility is about learning about democratic processes, learning about why you need to vote, learning about why you need to make your choices. That's your responsibility. I belong to a political party called the African National Congress. Many people belong to different political parties, and therefore, you as parliamentarians of this Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament, it's your responsibility to talk and teach about democracy. What are the democratic processes? Because once you are here, it enables you to make sure that those processes are not only ending here, those are processes that are also taken to your schools. It is the responsibility of the IEC to make sure that those processes of democracy are taught to you. It is the responsibility of the IEC, and I'm hoping that they will be able to do that. With regard to all the issues that you raised, unfortunately for us, obviously, I'm sure the speaker is going to start telling me now that I don't have a lot of time. I do want to indicate to yourselves that issues of substance abuse are issues of major concern to us too as a department. And to that effect, we do have programs on the ground, which I would request that you go and access those programs. We have a YOLO, you only live once, and it is a program that has been taken particularly by the Deputy Minister to all the provinces. But again, it is myself, it is the Deputy Minister, the people that are supposed to run with those programs are particularly at provincial and local level. In terms of child safety and protection, online safety and violence, again, even then, we have also had the opportunity of working together with UNICEF in assisting us in not only dealing with the legislation, because one of the things that honorable members you should know, legislation alone will not help us unless we make sure that legislation is understood on the ground and the regulations are understood on the ground. One of the honorable members here spoke about yourselves being part and parcel of communities. Here is where I think there's also a weakness. You honorable members, you go to school. When you finish school, you go straight to your home. When you are within your home, many a times you hardly even know who your neighbors are, especially the ones who live in suburbs. You never greet each other. You never know what are the structures at your street level, at your community level. You don't engage yourselves that much at that level. It's important for you to take that to the street level, to the home level, to the community level, because that way people are going to begin to notice you, they're going to begin to know you. To become a member of parliament, you just don't wake up and be a member of parliament. You become a member of parliament because people believe you represent their aspirations. How will people know that you represent their aspirations when you don't walk in your communities, when you don't connect to your communities, when you don't even connect in your churches, in your different structures that exist there? How do you also, as children, mobilize your parents? Here is another difficulty. Many a times, many of you do not want to talk to your parents. You are ever, forever busy on your cell phones. Even when your parents, honorable members, want to engage with you, you are too busy. Engagement is a two-way process. It's not a one-way process. Just like responsibility is a two-way process, it's not a one-way process. In terms of education, gender, children with disabilities and poverty, this is one of South Africa's biggest challenge, especially gender equality. That's why earlier on I said thank you very much for having elected the new office bearers, but at all times be conscious of the fact that we need more women also to be in a position of responsibility. Talking about education, somebody was saying here, we have children who are not able to even be participating here because many of them are street children, many of them are coming from broken families, many of them are not being taken care of. And I like somebody said, during COVID-19, we were able to round up everybody. We were all too scared. Now we should also be scared of having people who have got nowhere to go. We should use the same. I've said to the department that we need to have a policy on homelessness, and I'm happy to say that they did listen. They developed, working together with another organization. They are going to be proposing to the department, which has to be presented to cabinet, the issue of the homeless. How do we deal with the homeless? And within that issue of the homeless, it's issues of persons with disability, it's issues of poverty, it's issues of unemployment, and all those things. I think if we continue working together and not only coming here to talk because it's the week or it's the few days of the children's parliament, I am proposing to you that what you have raised here, whether it's capacity building, bullying, cyberbullying, and somebody said government does not listen, we do listen. The weakness, as some of you have been saying, is in the implementation. But personally, where I stand, I no longer want that to be an issue of argument, because we cannot be the ones that are developing the policy and turn around and say it's difficult for us to implement. We have the power, we have the system, we have people that are behind the desk besides myself. It wouldn't be a minister and deputy minister that runs everything. It is the minister, the deputy minister, but the engine for implementing our programs, it is our departments. But obviously, we have a greater responsibility, political responsibility, to make sure that all these things happen. Rome was not built in one day. Somebody said that. Yes, it wasn't built in one day, but I can tell you, as government, when we make promises, we have to keep our promises. When we say we're going to do the following things, we must be able to do those things. And somebody else also here, another member said they want their own ministry. Yeah, I think you can write a letter to the president as this parliament that you want your own representation. But I must tell you that under the government, we have the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, Uma Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. I think it would be very important for this Nelson Mandela Parliament to also engage at that level. Maybe next time when you have a sitting, you might even invite the president. Where's the president? The president might invite the president. Yes. President, you as the president, please invite the president to come to parliament and be able to present the state of the nation to yourselves. I thank you very much.
Enkosi kakhulu, Mama Honorable Minister Zulu. Honorable members, the resolution of our 11th Parliament will be considered in committee when we meet again towards our road to the 12th Parliament. I put the debate, honorable members.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, may I be recognized? Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to rise on a point of order to request that we be given a short amount of time just to engage with the minister. We had prepared some engagements with her, if that is possible. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
We will take on the same procedure as we did for the interactions with the committees, 6 minutes for everyone. We might as well start with you, honorable member.
Thank you, thank you. I'd like to commend you, Honorable Speaker. You have been very delightful to work with. It has been a very fruitful sitting indeed. Honorable Minister, thank you for your presence. But since you are here, I'd like to jog your memory a bit back to 2021. But before I go there, I'd like to respond to one of the things that you said with regards to institutionalization. Just to remind you that the minister had said that she suggested that in formalizing this parliament, she would suggest that it ends up having a rules book or some formal document that governs the order of the day, so that we do not have a situation where year on end we are amending the procedure. We have one procedure that is governed, because this is a very old parliament and it has matured now. So it must have one order for every single year that follows. I'd like to remind you on that, and I would just like to remind you that if it is possible, Mama, ukuthi kwenzeke. But on other questions, I'd like to remind you that in the last parliamentary sitting, the former honorable member, Siviwe Mboyane, requested that we receive a set of statistics that the honorable minister and the Honorable Minister responded, giving us a timeline of a few weeks. I'd like to know, Mama, if those statistics ever left your office. And then the second question is on a different request. The Honorable Minister was requested to provide a report on the implementation of the resolutions found in the Children's Manifesto of 2019. Again, the Honorable Minister gave a timeline of before the end of the year. It has been 2 years, and I'd like to know if that report ever left your office, Mama. And then to end off, I'd like to ask you, Mama, if you would just give us your thought as the minister on tokenism in child participation platforms, and how does the minister think we should deal with this issue? Thank you.
Honorable member.
Um, Thank you so much, Speaker. Also, thank you to Linda Zulu for her participation, as only the department head has stepped in the parliament. I've heard your speech, ma'am, and I really like it that we are taking a step closer. But throughout your speech, I've seen you involve other people, but there was a missing loophole in terms of the LGBTQI people, the gay people. I didn't see any inclusion, and to me, I feel like, are we allowed the space to talk or not? That is a missing loophole, and I've been listening very attentively to see if will the inclusion be there or not. I would like an answer, please.
Let's work from left to right. Honorable member.
Uh, Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Uh, Honorable Minister, thank you very much for your speech. And when you are coming to close up, referring back to the president, you said that the president should be able to write a letter to our president, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. I'm very curious to know that, first of all, I believe that our president here will write a letter to President Cyril Ramaphosa. We need assurance that our president is going to respond to the letter that the National Parliament president has sent. That's number one. Number two, we talk about protocol here. I do know that the message that the president is going to send won't go directly to the president. It will have to go with certain protocol. So now it will be better if we say that one from the departments vows to say, I will take this letter personally to the president. And the second thing is that we need to be able to know the protocol of the government. Yes, I've been seeing that the local municipalities and the subs have been conducting imbizos, but we really need to know the protocol in the government that for, yes, it has been done, but in primary stages and even going right now, it seems like the people and the children tend to be forgetting about them. We need a reminder. We need to rewind back again so that even our community does proper procedures. Thank you very much. So we are trying to avoid these protests because it's a real concern. Thank you very much.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, are we are happy to have you in our midst today. However, Honorable Minister, if we must be brutally honest, we feel as children that our children's parliament is not taken as seriously as it should be because it is not an official sitting in South Africa. If it was an official sitting, we would have ministers present here today to come and listen to our issues. My second question, Minister, was that last year we had a presidential summit on gender-based violence and femicide, where we as children requested that there be a child representative on the GBVF Council. Can Minister please provide an update on if there have been any developments regarding that? Thank you.
Unfortunately, our time is over. I would like for Mama Zulu to just respond within a quick span of 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Yeah, I don't even have to move there because I'll be taking time. Well, I think the issue of the rules book, so that we have one order, it cannot be our responsibility. It is the responsibility of the newly elected leadership of the Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament to make sure that that is drafted, because we cannot also be interfering with your due processes. The one thing that I think you should be supported with is, one, how do the rules of parliament and all that operate? How do you then take those and use them to your own situation? Because your own situation is very different. There are no political parties here. There are no committees that have to sit all the time and be presenting their reports as it normally happens. So can I request that you, honorable members, take that responsibility? This is your parliament. It is not our parliament, but I commit to saying, let us help you in the drafting of the rules book that you need. Because you see, when I was speaking there, responding also, I said we must institutionalize this, and the institutionalization of this parliament cannot also just be a responsibility of the Department of Social Development. You have leaders who you have elected, and those leaders that you have elected must take that responsibility and make sure that by the time the next parliament sits, they will be presenting to yourselves or whoever is going to be there, as the honorable members have been duly elected. Added to that, an honorable member raised the issue of protocol. The year that you gave me the children's charter, I have proof of presenting that charter both to the president and the deputy president. It just so happens that at the time that that was handed over to me, it was luck also the fact that the very same week, one was able to present that manifesto, and the implementation of that manifesto again is about ensuring that all government departments do implement that manifesto, and that all the rights of the children, because that manifesto encompasses every right of the child, encompasses what the Constitution covers. In terms of thoughts on tokenism, I don't believe in any tokenism. I don't think that tokenism should even be an issue here. I take it that everyone who is here because they went through a due process that needed to bring them here. Just like the way you elected people there, I don't think you were electing people basing yourselves on tokenism. And in the space where you are, actually, tokenism shouldn't be. It should be your capacity, your capability, and all, but that must also be coupled with empowerment. Because we can start saying we're going to elect people, and then they are not properly empowered, then they are not given the right information, then they are not assisted. That's why I was saying the speaker, please do not make life difficult for her. She's a new speaker. She will learn as we go along. The issue of the LGBTQIA as a matter of principle. LGBTQIA plus as a matter of principle. We are here and we have the LGBTQIA community being protected by the Constitution. The Constitution, legislation, regulation, but there is this issue of what really happens when they are in their homes, what really happens when they are in the schools,
what really happens when they go looking for services, what really happens, and it's all about the attitude sometimes of our own people. That's why, as a Department of Social Development, we are embarking on social behavioral change, because the social behavioral change is something that we must inculcate in ourselves as South Africans, as people, and be able to say the LGBTQIA plus community must be protected by all these institutions I'm talking about. But the first protection must start where they live, they start within the community, and I must say we are far, far away from ensuring that those rights are enshrined and are protected, even in the schools. I know many of them are afraid of coming out because they don't know how they are going to be bullied. They don't know how they are going to be looked upon. Some of ourselves sitting here are the people that have bad attitudes towards them. But if you were to ask one person, why do you have this bad attitude? Many times they're not able to respond. With regard to protocol, protocol is simple. In the presidency, every South African citizen has got the right to write a letter to the president of South Africa. So the letter that needs to be written doesn't need to come to me. It needs to go directly to the president's office, because that's how the protocol works. And in fact, we even have a call center, which is at the Union Building, which is the call center. Maybe the issue is about people not even knowing the number and all. What is the number for that call center? But people can be able to call directly. The Children's Parliament is not an official sitting. Take it upon yourselves, guys. Take it upon yourselves, honorable members. We have Parliament today of South Africa. We have provincial legislatures today. We've got local government structures because somebody somewhere took a responsibility. And some of us sitting here, we sit here, we tell you we took the responsibility as way back as 1976 to say what we see in South Africa as apartheid, that is not inclusive, that is oppressing people. We took that decision and said we shall make the change. It's how many years down the line? I'm a grandmother now. I've got children now. But I can refer to you the struggles, and I think the same would happen with MEC Fanta. She can stand up and tell you how much of her own life and sacrifice did she make sure that we have the South Africa we have today. You must take responsibility and take charge of your future by ensuring that you contribute towards that. The presidential summit did happen. I think what we need to do is to write back. You are from the honorable member, sorry, you are from which province?
From the Northwest Province.
And you were present at this was, I remember you very well. You were the spokesperson at the time. I recall you because I was sitting on stage and I recall you speaking there. Now, this issue is something that, yes, belongs to us as a department in a way, but in the main, it's something that we need to raise with the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, because the fund does not fall under us as a department, but we have a responsibility, obviously, as a department to continue communicating with all the other relevant departments. So I will not be able to answer your question now, but we can follow up with them as to what exactly, and obviously I'll ask the department to just check from the time that the summit happened, did they take forward that proposal? And in any case, there is a report. And within that report, one would expect that all the things that were raised there should be in that report. Thank you.
That concludes the discussion of this matter and the business for the day. The House will adjourn until further notice. The House is adjourned. I ask all the members of the parliament to remain sitting as we do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mace has been removed. We therefore have permission to address the House. At this point, I would like to recall Minister to come forward, MEC, and country rep from the United Nations Children's Fund. We would like to move ahead and acknowledge the outgoing ambassadors, if they too would approach, and would like to take this opportunity for Minister to be able to inaugurate the new ambassadors. May we give the 2021 ambassadors a round of applause, please. Someone wanted to say thank you for attending this event. Then we will then know. Thank you. Now, let me show you. I want to show you the visual. Someone's going to say something 1 minute and then. Can you shoot the video? Yeah. Who's doing that?
Good afternoon once again, honorable members. As we stand here today as the 2021 Nelson Mandela Children's Parliament Child Ambassadors, we bid farewell to this journey, this long, beautiful journey that we have traveled along. It has been a tough one, but it's been one that has changed us for the better. We have learned so much. We have been fully capacitated, I feel, when it comes to children's rights, to child rights advocacy, and we have, most importantly, built friendships among one another that will last a lifetime. It is a bit emotional, I won't lie. It's actually very emotional, to be honest, but we had fun. I would like to thank all the partners who have been with us from the beginning, who have walked this journey with us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
As we say goodbye to our ambassadors, I wish to call the new ambassadors. Representing the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Rebecca Smith. Please come forward. Representing the province of the Western Cape, Isabella Dawood. Representing the province of Northern Cape, Charise James. Representing the Free State, Kireabetswe Kwase. Representing the province of the Northwest, Unati Lucas. Representing the province of Gauteng, Khumuto Meje. Representing the province of Limpopo, Tekgang Mukhudu. Representing the host province, the province of the Eastern Cape, Sovuzwa Simanga. I also wish to call the newly elected executive members from the Eastern Cape, Kazmila Adam. Free State, Unati Nginitwa. From the Limpopo province, Tehang Muhudu. And from the Free State, Kwase Kireabiatwe. May the new president lead the handshake with the minister. The deputy president.
The deputy president. Thank you. That is your task. That's your task. Yeah.
The speaker.
The speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And the deputy speaker.
The deputy speaker. Madam Deputy Speaker. Yes.
Their executive.
And the executive. Thank you, executive. Good luck. Good luck, executive. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Yes.
At this time, we'll ask the honorable members to arise. They'll exit at this point. They'll meet up for a photo session in front of the chamber. Everyone for a photo session with the minister in front of the chamber.